Good evening, everyone. It is Wednesday, January 21st, 2026. Welcome to Douglas Now Live. I'm Robert Preston Jr., and we are live here in the Douglas Now studios on West Walker Street. Again, doing this in the evening hours, a little bit unusual, but here in the last couple of weeks, it has just worked out better that way to spend a few minutes together during the evening hours. A couple things I want to talk to tonight. Before we get to that, though, we know that we are having some technical difficulties with the DouglasNow.com website. And I know that when people go to the website, you're getting a warning. The site is safe. If you can click on the icon or the spot on the warning that says go to site anyway, you will be safe. Now, sometimes when you click on that, it may not take you to the site, but if it will, the site is 100% safe. We had a security breach in November. It was a pretty extensive breach. We were able to fix it and get everything taken care of without losing any information and without anything getting into the website that would infect other users. One of the things that has happened in the aftermath, though, is we've had some complications because of that breach. And what we're seeing now is a part of that. I get messages, not on a daily basis, but on a weekly basis, asking me if I have banned anyone from the website. I have not. I do not ban people from DouglasNow.com. I do have a list of banned people on the Facebook page. There are some things that you can do in the comments, some things you can say, and sometimes it's not necessarily what you say, but how you say it. And yes, I do realize that in those instances, we are trying to judge intent over the internet, and that is not an easy thing to do. But you can get banned off of the Facebook page. You don't get banned off of the website. So if you go to DouglasNow.com, or if you click on a story from the Facebook page and it does not take you to the website, you get one of those messages saying that your access is restricted or it's a dangerous site or something like that. You have not been banned. All right. I can assure you of that. You have not been banned, but we are working very hard, I can assure you, to try and get this issue fixed. And it popped up again today, to the point that I couldn't get on the website. If you notice, our news was down a little bit today. I haven't posted like I normally do. I've got several stories I've still got to get to, but I haven't been able to get to those stories because for a time this afternoon, I could not get on the site to post any stories. It's one thing to not be able to just pull up the site and read it. It's something else entirely when me, as an administrator, cannot get on the website to post any content at all. And that was what I ran into this afternoon. I made a post about it somewhere around 2:00. What had happened was one of our security folks was working on the database, and in order to do what he needed to do, he had to limit access to all the admins here locally. So we did not have any access to it. It scared us. We thought that there was a possibility that we were losing everything on the website. And fortunately, that was not the case. With what was happening, there were two possibilities. One was the site's gone. Everything on it's gone, and we're going to have to start from scratch. The second thing was our security folks were working on the database, and they had to restrict our access while they did that. Thankfully, it was the second one that our security folks were working, and they are continuing to work. So if you see that message, if you want to send me a message, let me know. I will reply back to you, and my reply will be this, that we're aware of it. We are working to try to fix it. The site is safe. If you can get to it, it is a 100% clean. We've had our security folks check it. There's nothing out there. This seems to be a delayed reaction to what happened in November. And yes, it is aggravating. I can assure you it is extremely aggravating. However annoying it is to you, it is 10 times as annoying to me. Getting to our news tonight, and I like these kinds of stories. I have been accused, very recently, in fact, of not publishing positive stories. I do publish positive stories. We publish a lot of them. The problem is most people don't read them. And in fact, This is a story that got a few comments on Facebook, but not a lot of people read it. But I think it's a big deal. All right. And when I saw it, I knew immediately I was going to post it. Tifton band, Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers won the 2026 International Blues Challenge recently, and Derek Dove was named Best Guitarist from that particular competition. Now, the press release we got, and I love the way they word this stuff. It's fantastic. Southern Fried Blues rock band Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers, representing the Wiregrass Blues Society, claimed the band championship at the 41st Annual Blues Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee, January 13th through 17th. Frontman and guitarist Derek Dove was also awarded Best Guitarist for his soulful, electrifying performance. Now, on the Facebook page, I couldn't embed it into the story, but on the Facebook page, I put a clip of their performance, about a 19-minute video. You can find it on YouTube. You can go to YouTube and look up Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers. It'll come up, and you can listen to it. They put on a phenomenal show. They did a really good job, and they're very deserving of this award. And I can tell you, I have a pretty wide range of musical taste. All right. There are a few things, though, that are more in my wheelhouse than others, but it would be pretty interesting, I think, to sit down and talk about the various music that I like and that I listen to, and probably maybe equally as interesting is what I don't like, because that would probably be surprising as well. But I will tell you this, from the time I was about 8 or 9 years old, I have loved a loud guitar, a blues-infused loud guitar. And most of the music that I gravitate toward, whether it's hard rock, whether it's country, southern rock, any of that, it all very much has a blues flavor to it. And of course, Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers, very much, very, very heavily blues influenced. They're really a phenomenal band. And I must confess that my exposure to the Peacekeepers has been recorded, some here across the hall in the 106.7 studios, and then watching YouTube clips. I have not ever seen them live, but it is something that I want to do, particularly after I went back and refreshed my memory with some of the performances I saw on YouTube. Really good. And Derek Dove can play the guitar. He can sing. I mean, it really is. It's good stuff. So congratulations to Derek Dove and the Peacekeepers. We know you're in Tifton. Coffee County and Tift County's relationship is kind of similar to Coffee County and Ware County's relationship. It may be not quite as acrimonious between Coffee and Tift as it is between Coffee and Ware County, but I can tell you this, we will claim you. All right. We know you've played at the Martin quite a bit. Friends of a lot of folks here. We have a lot of folks in Coffee County who follow you guys, and we will absolutely claim you over here in Coffee County. And any news that you guys need, we will absolutely publish it. Really, really phenomenal band. Congratulations to Derek and the rest of his band. I thought one day I would get old enough to outgrow loud guitars, loud music, that kind of thing. I have not, and I hope I never do. Staring 54 years old in the face this year, I still enjoy the same kind of music I did when I was 15, 16, 17 years old. I have not outgrown that. And once again, I hope I never do. The louder, the better. Earlier today, around lunchtime, maybe 11:30 or so, a fire was reported on Tyson Road in Douglas. That is just off of Highway 221 North, a couple of blocks past Forest Auto Parts. There on the outskirts of the Oak Park community, the suburbs of the Sand Ridge, if you will, but down Weeks Road. And you can see here the house was not damaged significantly on the outside. What happened was there was a kitchen fire, and when the fire happened, a pipe above the kitchen burst, and water came down into the kitchen area and helped keep it under control until firefighters arrived. Now, if you know where the county fire department is, it is a very short distance away. So fire department was able to get here quickly and put the fire out. There were people and animals inside the house when the fire broke out. One individual was transported to Coffee Regional Medical Center via private vehicle for treatment for smoke inhalation. There was a cat and a goldfish inside the house. And this man went into the house multiple times to retrieve items and his animals. I did see the cat when I was out there taking pictures. The cat survived. I'm assuming the goldfish survived. Probably a lot of things can go wrong in a house fire. If you're a goldfish, I would not think that smoke inhalation would be one of those. Going back to 9th grade biology there, I don't think that's going to be a problem for a goldfish. But I think everyone ultimately made it out safely. Not a lot of significant damage to the outside, but when you got close to the building, to the house, you could see smoke damage, and you could see that again, there is some damage inside. I'm going to tell you, and this is a nice segue into what has been going on here in Douglas and Coffee County this month. A week ago, a little over a week ago, the county fire department had been on 50 calls already. It's over 75 now. We're not even through January yet. 75 calls. Now, part of the reason is we're in controlled burn season. People have Christmas trees and boxes and things like that left over from the holidays that they want to burn, and it has been extremely dry. In spite of that, people have been getting burn permits, and a lot of these fires get out of hand. And I know on Saturday there was one fire that started burning a few boxes that really got out of hand. The county fire department spent a lot of time fighting it, and it did a significant amount of damage. All right. And if you've seen the smoke around town, I get phone calls all the time. What's on fire? Control burns, trash piles, things like that. All permitted. They're permitted. But as dry as it's been, it doesn't take long for those fires to get out of hand. And the fire department, both city and county, have been running themselves ragged this entire month. Now, the rain that we got on this past Saturday or this past Sunday will help a lot. All right. And if you look around, you can still see water standing. The creeks that were barely trickling a week ago are now full, and we're expected to get more rain, maybe a little bit of snow. We got some precipitation coming in again on Sunday with a significant drop in temperatures on Monday and Tuesday, but all that will help keep these fires under control. It's been extremely dry, an extremely volatile situation when you put these fires out. It had some wind, dry conditions, and fire, not a good mix. The fire department's really done a good job of working, and they have been stressed. They really have. It's been tough on the fire department. So again, if you don't have to burn, don't do it. If you don't have to, don't do it. If you are going to burn, get a permit and make sure that you are careful with it. Make sure that you're burning in a good place. You've got some containment measures. You have taken some containment measures to keep it from getting out of hand. A very small fire can turn into something very destructive in a hurry. That was not the case today. But since we're on the subject of fires and the fire department, again, if you need to burn something over the next few days, few weeks, the remainder of the month, please be extremely careful. The rain this weekend is going to help, but we know what happens here. It dries out in a hurry. It gets wet in a hurry. It doesn't take a lot of rain to saturate the ground, but it doesn't last. You can be really boggy one day, and a day or two later, it doesn't look like it even rained. All right, so the water level rises in a hurry, and it drops in a hurry. So be careful if you're going to burn. We're glad nobody was seriously injured in today's fire. Whenever I hear a house fire, it makes me extremely nervous. Moving from fires to protests, we had a protest in the city of Douglas yesterday. It was organized by Lawton Hurst, who has done at least 2 protests that I can remember here in the past year. And they take place in the same spot every time, which is actually not a bad spot to hold a protest if, in fact, you would like to do so. It is in the grassy area, the little triangle there, where the roads, depending upon which way you're traveling on 441, It's on the south end of town. If you're going south, it's where the road comes together. If you're going north, it's where the road split, where the one-way split, in front of Longhorn, Chick-fil-A, Arby's, that area, not far from McDonald's. This protest was titled, dubbed a No Kings, No Occupation demonstration. I knew that this would generate some comments. It would generate a lot of interest. And let me explain how I feel about protests. First of all, there are a lot of things I agree with, a lot of things I disagree with. Some things I talk about, some things I don't. Some things really irritate me. Some things make me very mad. But one thing that I don't do, I don't get outraged. I tried to get outraged one time. I really did, several years ago. And it was extremely inconvenient. All right, so I decided we're probably not going to get outraged anymore. And what I try to do, and I'm not saying anything about anybody else, okay? I'm just telling you what I try to do is focus on the things that are affecting me on a daily basis. Now, some of these issues, state issues, national issues, international issues, do affect us on a daily basis. And those are the things that I do take notice of. And I do have an opinion about a lot of these things, but I don't state my opinion very much. And I'm going to get into some opinion here in this segment. I'm going to go ahead and warn you. I'm going to talk a little bit about my opinions. I will talk politics and talk opinions and do things like that here as a part of my job. But outside of this format, outside of this platform, I don't like to do it very often. You will very seldom, if ever, see me talk about politics on my personal Facebook page. You're not going to see me jump into political discussions on other people's Facebook page. And one thing that I certainly don't do is go on someone else's page. For the most part, I've got to be, something unusual has to happen for me to get upset enough or opinionated enough to go on a Facebook page, someone else's Facebook page, and disagree with them. I'm not going to do that. I try not to. I do my best. I do my best not to. But in this particular format, I will give my opinion about a few things. So, with regard to protest, while I try to keep my level of outrage at a minimum, even with things I don't agree with, I respect the right of other people to protest. That is one of the opportunities, one of the options, whatever words you want to use, that we have here in the United States at our disposal to express our displeasure. Now, this protest was permitted. It was peaceful. And what I ask for anyone who protests, keep it peaceful, keep it respectful. One of the stipulations that this protest had to do, and any protest that takes place in that same spot, is you stay out of traffic. And the protests that have taken place there, they have been peaceful. All right. They have been out of traffic and they have all been permitted. So even though in an area, a very pro-Donald Trump area like Coffee County, a heavily conservative area, it is perfectly acceptable for someone to protest. And they have done so with the right attitude and with the right spirit. So now, with that said, do I agree with the protest? Again, my opinion is coming this way. A lot of the protests regarding Venezuela, and that's where a lot of this came from. A lot of the protests, I think, miss the nuance of what's happened in Venezuela. And they oversimplify the issue. If you don't go back, and I'm not prepared to do this tonight, so we're not fixing to get into a long treatise on the state of Venezuelan politics going back the last 15 or so years. All right. We're not going to do that, but I will say that if you truly want to understand and appreciate what has happened, you need to go back that far, and you need to be objective. And what I think happens here is that while this issue was about Venezuela to some degree, I think maybe it was more of an opportunity to be anti-Trump under the umbrella of Venezuela, if that makes sense. that Venezuela was the excuse to gather together and ultimately turn it into an anti-Trump rally, which again is fine. That option is available and it's on the table. But here's the deal: Venezuela is very nuanced, extremely nuanced. Nicolas Maduro, you can very successfully argue that he was not the duly elected leader of Venezuela. You don't have to dig very deeply to see that, the elections may have been legitimate, but the vote counts were not. The vote tallies were not. All right. Now, does that mean you go in with a military operation and depose a leader? That's where you get back into the nuance a little bit, because President Maduro was indicted and wanted in the United States on criminal charges. And there's some interesting things with international law with what is allowed and what is not allowed to go in and remove leaders of foreign countries. It's not always illegal to do so. Again, when we're talking about the word nuance, international law is certainly nuanced with this. There are times it's okay. And it comes down to the interpretation. It comes down, if there's a formal complaint filed, it comes down to who hears it and how well you argue your case. It is not black and white. So when I look at this issue of Venezuela, it does certainly seem unusual that we would go in and remove a foreign leader, bring him back to the United States, and lock him in jail, he and his wife. That's not something we see very often, all right? But it happened. Does it necessarily mean that there was a breach of international law? And if you study this case and go back and look, it's not as cut and dried as you think. So, it's certainly unusual. Was it necessarily illegal? No, it was not. It wasn't. So what I ask people to do, this is just a general statement. What I ask people to do is to truly research these issues. And when I say research, because I know what people are going to say, we researched, we did this, we did that. Step out of your echo chamber. Okay? Step outside of what you believe. Step outside of what you expose yourself to. And look at what the other side says. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it, but it will provide you with perspective and give you a well-rounded opinion and stance, and a firmer stance on the issue upon which you are acting. Social media does not allow that. Many times our own biases, our own political leanings prevent us or stop us from doing that. And it also helps to put things into historical context. Why do we need to study history? Why do you need to look at the past? Because my favorite Old Testament book of the Bible is the book of Ecclesiastes. If you haven't read it in a while, go read it. You can do it in one sitting. It's very short. But one of the statements in the book of Ecclesiastes that is repeated over and over again is there's nothing new under the sun. And we live in a very unique time. We have access to services, to technology, to each other that no one, no culture, no society, both you pick it in terms of countries or globally, have ever had before. But there's still nothing new under the sun. Technology gives us the opportunity to expand our horizons a little bit, but we do the same things today. We act on the same impulses today. We repeat the same mistakes today that people repeated 100, 200, 300, 2,000, 3,000 years ago, because human nature has not changed. Because human nature has not changed, we will continue to do the same things over and over. Now, the consequences of those bad things that we do might be intensified because of the technology that we have, but the motivations are the same. Now, the reason I say that is if you look at the past, you may think, well, what happened in the 1700s, what happened in the 1800s does not have any bearing on what happened today. It absolutely does. It absolutely does. The corrupting influences of centuries ago are the same corrupting influences that we have because our nature remains the same. So if you study history and look at things that have happened in the past, it will provide you with the perspective you need to form an opinion on what is happening right now. All right? Some of the same fights that are taking place in Washington took place in the 1920s, in the 1910s. And when we used to do the radio, and my radio desk is immediately to my right. Okay, I don't know what it looks like on your screen where I'm pointing, but here on the camera, I'm pointing to my right. All right? And we talked a little bit about Woodrow Wilson. Some of the same complaints that people have about President Trump, they had about Woodrow Wilson. He was one of the first presidents, maybe the first modern president, if you will. He really tried to expand the power of the presidency while silencing his opponents. And we see some of that today. So again, what's happening in the White House, what's happening in Washington now is not necessarily new. It may be happening on a little grander scale in front of a larger audience, but it's not new. So that's why I ask people, familiarize yourself with the past so you know how to interpret the present. All right? And I respect the right of people to protest and to let their opinions be heard. And I like to see young people getting involved. All right? This is a pretty young looking crowd here in this photo. I like to see young people getting involved. But what I want young people to do is to form their opinions based on the correct information. And you need to step outside of those echo chambers, get away from people who only agree with you, and get some perspective on what's going on. But what's happened in Venezuela, and I'd like to talk about it one day because it's quite interesting, but there's a lot of nuances here. And while a lot of people think what President Trump did is completely illegal and totally out of line, may not necessarily be the case. But that doesn't mean that there weren't some lines there that may have been crossed. All right? And people get worried about oil. Listen, you can argue about oil all you want to, but everybody needs oil. And I'm not saying that oil was the right reason to go to Venezuela. Was it a contributing factor? Yes, it is. But when you look at the issue of oil, you also have to keep this in mind, that not all oil is created equally. And the oil in Venezuela is not the same. And now I'm really getting into something. I don't know the proper terminology here. So this is Robert's interpretation here. The oil in Venezuela is not the same type of oil that you find in the Middle East. You can certainly refine it, turn it into gasoline, turn it into energy, but it's a different process. It's a more difficult process to refine Venezuelan oil than it is Middle Eastern oil. It's more difficult to make a profit because of that. It's a costlier process. So those issues have to be worked out as well. And then you also have the different climate, the different landscape in Venezuela as opposed to the Middle East. So there's some logistical issues there as well. But at one time, Venezuela was a major oil producing nation. It has not been for a while. And part of it is because of the political situation, the economic situation in Venezuela. So, and we didn't even touch on any of the drug stuff. We can get into that at another time. But I can tell you this, that those South American countries and Central American countries, the governments are totally influenced by drug money. All right. They totally are. And that in turn spells problems for folks here in the United States. We need to get into this one day, but that's not what I wanted to really get into. But the protest yesterday, do I agree with it? No, I would not. I am, when I talk in terms of nuance, I'm tilted toward, we did the right thing. All right. It's unusual, but again, it's not completely unprecedented and it's not completely without merit. If you ignore that and if you don't recognize that, then you're not looking at the nuances and you're not understanding the history of Venezuela. You don't have to agree with it, but you just need to have the proper perspective, and most people do not. Let's take a look at our tower cam. Once again, the nighttime view does not look, it doesn't look as pretty. Maybe it does in its own way, but a nice daytime view of our camera. You can see some birds and what have you. It's a little bit different, but you can still see a little bit of cloud cover. The weather's not going to be bad over the next couple of days. It's going to be fairly warm through the rest of the week. But then when we get into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we're going to have more rain on Sunday, and it's going to get extremely cold. I know what people are going to ask. Are we going to have school on Monday and Tuesday? I don't know yet. We're going to have to wait a little while and see, but I will tell you this. If there's ice on the roads on Sunday night, Monday morning, we will not have school. But we won't know until the weather system develops a little bit more, until we get a little bit closer. But I can guarantee you our EMA folks are watching, so are our school system folks. They are paying attention, and they will make the best decision they can with the information they have as it gets a little bit closer. But yes, our tower cam, looking back east, but actually it's a little bit to the, I say east. You can see some traffic moving out here. I believe that's out on Highway 206. I think that's where that is. We've lost some trees over here a little bit west of us, and you can see through the trees and see the roadway over there. So I don't think there's that much traffic out here on Walker Street. So I believe that's out on 206. But I like the tower cam. We're trying to figure out ways to put more cameras around town where we can click and we can actually see what's happening in other places. That's one of the things we're working on for 2026. Thank you for watching tonight. Again, we know what's happening with the website. We know you're getting some messages. We got some technical difficulties. We are endeavoring to get those fixed. We will continue to do so as long as we're still getting those messages. We got some good security folks. We got some great web people. Stuff is way above my pay grade. We are working on that to get it fixed. And now that we've kind of got a little bit of that behind us, hopefully our content output for the remainder of the week will be back to normal. Thank you again for streaming tonight. You'll have a wonderful evening. We'll see you next time.